Well, it was a blowout. The Indiana Fever take down the Chicago Sky 79-.
The Indiana Fever just destroyed the Chicago Sky in what was an embarrassing loss for Chicago. That was just sad watching them play against the Indiana Fever with no Caitlin, no Stephanie White, and they looked that bad. Angel Reese was not a factor in this game. She's not a great player in my opinion. She plays her role well, but even her role as being a power forward, a player who gets rebounds, puts up layups, like she misses most of her layups. She's just not that good of a player. I don't know why people are treating her like she's a superstar. She wasn't even a factor in this game. She's never really a factor in any of.
Angel Reese just faced one of the toughest games of her rookie season as the Indiana Fever dominated the Chicago Sky in a nearly 30-point blowout. With Caitlin Clark watching from the sidelines, the Fever exposed weaknesses in Chicago's game, and Reese finished with only 4 points. The performance sparked fresh debate about this year's top WNBA rookies and who's truly leading the pack.
No problem. No Sophie Cunningham? No problem. No head coach Stephanie White? Have no fear. The final boss, Austin Kelly, is here. The Chicago Sky, we came into your building and we just, from pillar to post, smacked you guys.
This was the most devastating reality check in WNBA history, and all of it was directed at Angel Reese in particular. The Indiana Fever thrashed the Chicago Sky in a humiliating 30-point rout that warranted a viewer discretion warning. Here's the worst part, however. Not even Caitlin Clark was playing, as Reese had one of the worst performances of her career. She was sitting on the bench in street clothes, most likely trying not to laugh.
Bad. Oh, Angel Reese, 4 points, 12 rebounds, 2 of 7 from...
In a game where the Chicago Sky needed leadership, Angel Reese struggled, scoring just 4 points on 2 of 7 shooting in a tough loss to the Indiana Fever. With Caitlin Clark sidelined, all eyes were on Reese to step up, and the performance fell short. She committed 3 turnovers, had 2 shots blocked, and finished with a stat line that raised questions about the hype surrounding her. While media and fans have built her up as a rising star, this game exposed areas in her play that still need serious development.
52. I had said earlier in the game, if Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham had been playing in this game, they might have won by 40. I was wrong. They might have won by 70. It was that.
One of the most telling parts of the Sky's tough loss was how the team seemed to perform better after Angel Reese was benched. Meant to be Chicago's franchise cornerstone in answer to Caitlin Clark, Reese struggled to impact the game positively. While she grabbed 12 rebounds, many came from her own missed shots and a chaotic offensive performance by the team overall, diminishing the stats' value. The game raised real concerns about her decision-making and on-court awareness, suggesting deeper issues than just an off night.
Guys, I got to tell you, Angel Reese as an offensive player, she's...
The misconception that Reese plays excellent defense was dispelled by his defensive performance, which was as terrible. On that end of the court, she was missing rotations, being beaten off the dribble, and overall seeming disoriented. It has always been more media fabrication than fact that she is some kind of defensive stopper. And this game absolutely demonstrated it. Seeing how easily the Fever controlled every part of the game without their greatest player added to the humiliation of this blowout.
And without Caitlin Clark, so many good things are going to happen for this team, but I think a lot of it has to do with Ari McDonald. She was amazing in this game. I was talking about it on my Twitter, man. She is the player for the Indiana Fever. I would be so distraught if they could not keep her on the team. They need to keep Ari McDonald. Lexi Holt was amazing. Kelsey Mitchell looks like herself. Again, everything.
With Ari McDonald at point, Kelsey Mitchell thrived in a smooth, well-coordinated Fever offense, while the Sky looked completely out of sync. Angel Reese struggled throughout, making poor decisions, lacking composure, and falling short next to Aaliyah Boston, who played with control and impact. The difference between the two was clear, raising serious doubts about Reese's current level. The fact that Clark was watching from the sidelines for the whole performance, however, was the most humiliating aspect of it. The athlete to whom Reese and her fans often compare her wasn't even on the field. And during the whole game, the Fever continued to rule. The real skill disparity between these two individuals and their respective teams is made abundantly evident by that. Without any effective point guard play, the Sky's offensive scheme collapsed, exposing yet another core weakness in Reese's style of play. She lacks the ability to generate offense for teammates. She lacks the basketball IQ to adapt when the original game plan doesn't work and is unable of running plays efficiently. Any player who wants to be regarded as a franchise must meet those fundamental standards. Foundation throughout the game, Reese's shot selection was dubious at best and dreadful at worst. She was missing wide-open layups that high school players should hit, forcing baskets from locations she had no business attempting, and overall giving off the impression that she was unaware of her own playing skills and shortcomings. The most revealing instance occurred when a smaller defender stopped Reese's shot despite having a clean route to the hoop. It's more than simply lousy timing or bad luck. Basketball instincts and finishing skills are fundamentally lacking, and professional coaches are unable to teach them. Because they occurred at crucial periods when the Sky were attempting to gain any momentum, the turnovers were especially unsightly. The Fever would have easy scoring chances right away if Reese got the ball in a favorable position, made a thoughtless pass, or lost her handle. For someone who is meant to be a team leader, such negligence is unacceptable. Reese often collected defensive rebounds despite being out of position on the first defensive possession or failing to correctly challenge shots. Therefore, even her favorable statistics often came from correcting errors she made in the first place. Basketball isn't productive like that. That doesn't convert into victory. It's simply statistical padding. Reese's basketball endurance and fitness were fully tested by the game's tempo. Early in the game, she was clearly exhausted, and as the match went on, she began making progressively terrible choices. This level of professional players should be able to sustain their performance for the duration of a game, but Reese obviously had trouble meeting that fundamental need. To get Rhee on the court, the Sky coaching staff experimented with several lineup configurations, but nothing seemed to work. The outcome was always bad, regardless of whether she was playing with the starters, coming off the bench, or blending in with other role players. This implies that the issue is with basketball IQ and individual performance, rather than the system. This performance was particularly harmful since it ran counter to all of the good narratives that have been developed about Rhee. The media has been promoting tales about her growth, leadership, and franchise-playing potential for the last 2 seasons. This game demonstrated that such narratives are based more on wishful thinking than on real basketball data. Throughout the game, Reese's body language was very revealing since it revealed that he wasn't ready for the level of execution and intensity needed. She seemed irritated and perplexed when playing professional basketball, and she often appeared to be playing a separate game than the other players. Rookies, not second-year players who should be becoming stars, are often the ones who exhibit that type of disconnect. After seeing this game, the comparison to her unparalleled performance that certain admirers love to make loses any value. Real WNBA competition is not prepared for by 3-on-1 pickup basketball with permissive regulations and no defensive rigor. If anything, Rhee may have developed negative habits from those games that affected her effectiveness in actual games. The Fever's better positioning and boxing out style nullified the offensive rebounding that Rhee is expected to thrive at. It loses a lot of effectiveness when teams really train for her one real strength. Who's what separates competing against teams who effectively scout from those that allow her to work as a freelancer for quick stats. In addition to her poor field goal shooting, Rhee also struggled with free throw shooting, squandering chances to at least score some points. In a blowout scenario, professional players are expected to make such simple shots, particularly if their team is struggling to remain competitive. Throughout the game, Rhee finds the aid, defense, and team notions to be entirely alien. She struggled to communicate with teammates, was often in the incorrect position, and overall gave off the impression that she didn't grasp contemporary basketball strategies. At this level, they are basic abilities that ought to come naturally. Because Rhee often did not return promptly enough, or was in a bad position when she did, the transition defense was similarly difficult. This made the blowout considerably worse than it had to be and created easy scoring chances for the Fever. Professional athletes are expected to have a minimum level of hustle and effort. Because the game was already settled, the fourth quarter was especially unpleasant to watch. However, even during garbage time, when the pressure should be lessened, Rhee still had trouble with fundamental basketball execution. She was unable to compose a series of upbeat plays that would at least save some of the performer's self-respect. Because this is the kind of performance that cannot be justified by excuses about teammates officiating or other influences, it will be intriguing to see the post-game interviews and social media response. It was only that one guy wasn't skilled enough to compete at the level needed to succeed as a professional basketball player. Since Sky cannot afford to have its alleged top player contribute negatively in important games, the wider ramifications for the season are equally worrisome. They need Reese to take charge and show leadership since Courtney Vanderloot is probably gone for the season and has additional injury issues. They received the opposite instead. It is evident that Rhee is not developing at the anticipated rate on the developmental trajectory that everyone believed she was on. While second-year players are expected to progress and become more consistent, Rhee's performance raises the possibility that she may be regressing in some crucial aspects of her game. After this game, the coaching choices regarding Reese's role and minutes will be closely examined since it is evident that the present strategy isn't effective. If the Sky want to remain competitive, something must happen, whether it is her playing time being cut, her placement being altered, or her function within the team structure being entirely reevaluated. This setback is made even more painful by the contrast with the Fever's performance without their greatest player, which demonstrates what good team basketball looks like. They made wise choices, moved the ball properly, and carried out their strategy well even without Clark. It seemed like the Sky had no strategy at all. After performances like these, the statistical comparison between Rhee and other power forwards in the league becomes even more negative. She doesn't just support top athletes. She supports role players who perform within their capabilities and are aware of their limits. Games like these, when the discrepancy between expectations and reality becomes unavoidable, will need the hype machine that has been constructed around Reese to take them into consideration. A player who consistently misses crucial games and intentionally undermines the team's chances of winning cannot be the foundation of a franchise.
You know, it's funny. We're not supposed to be critical of her, but she keeps doing this kind of thing that gets her criticized. Kathy Engbert, you got your ears on? Because people will report this video because they don't like me being critical of her being out here shaking her ass. I'm sorry, where I come from, this is tacky. There's nothing cute about this. I honestly, I would, if she hadn't acted the way she did towards Caitlin Clark in that last incident over a common foul where she literally, physically tried to go after her.
As Caitlin Clark watched from the sidelines, the Sky's 30-point loss highlighted a stark contrast between media hype and actual performance. While Clark has consistently elevated her team, Angel Reese struggled in a game that exposed major gaps in her impact. This wasn't just a bad loss, it was a reality check. For more breakdowns on players and performances, don't forget to like and subscribe.